watching Exit 1055 with your host, Richard Rose.
And good morning, I'm Richard Rose. Welcome to Exit 1055 Long Island, your show about all things Long Island. In just a bit, we'll give you a preview of some of the truly cool classic cars that are on display today at MacArthur Airport for a big yearly car show there. It's a trip down auto memory lane that we're sure you will enjoy. But we begin today, something we all know about. This is pothole season, one of the worst in memory according to all accounts, but it's made for a booming business for one Long Island company. TV 1055's Jennifer McLogan explains.
Get it while it's hot. This chute light contraption is dropping 5 tons of fresh, steaming, scorching black asphalt bound for Long Island roads.
What do you call the goopy stuff? The black stuff that makes it sticky is called liquid asphalt concrete. 300 degrees, we remove all the moisture and get it to a temperature where it's workable for crews to put finished potholes with it.
Despite its overpowering stench, asphalt is the hottest, gummy, gooey commodity going. The #1 defense to battle the pothole epidemic, wrecking our roads, tires, and rims.
Somebody hit the pothole.
So to the rescue, conveyor belts attaching to silos in constant motion. Adjacent to heating tanks, gravel from upstate goes to a dryer that can reach 400 degrees, taking out all dampness before the petroleum-based liquid, black gold, is squirted in. With a backdrop out of the Wild West, hard to believe this is suburban Melville. Municipalities report a 40 to 65% pothole increase over last winter due to the damaging long freeze and quick thaw cycle. Water and salt seep into cracks, turn to ice, and expand, breaking the asphalt. Snow budgets wiped out. Repairs must go on.
We are here declaring a war on potholes.
Nassau County announcing local villages and towns will now share complaints in real time so crews can be dispatched with urgency. But what's ruining road repair reserves delights asphalt makers.
We all seem to hate a cold winter, but it's good for business. In the long term, it is good for business, yes.
This year, April is shaping up to be the worst month for pothole crews. The later thaw means many more potholes have yet to erupt. From Melville, Jennifer McLogan, TV 1055.
There you go, a war on potholes. Joining us now to talk about this worsening problem of potholes is Marc Herbst. He's the Executive Director of the Long Island Contractors Association. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Richard.
Marc, we're literally talking about the perfect storm when it comes to potholes. Explain.
Well, perfect storm, war, I love all of these phrases, but it's a time of year that we traditionally are hit hard with potholes, but the last 2 winters have been extremely very difficult because of the change in the weather. In January, certain days, we had shifts of 50 degrees. And what that does is cause the road to freeze and then thaw quickly as the traffic's going over. A road surface that's deteriorating. Most of our roads, particularly on Long Island, were post-World War II, and they haven't been replaced since then.
Is the funding drying up for this?
The funding has been one of the major problems because it's a long-term plan that's not in place. And some of the municipalities have not looked at it that way. They address the situation as it arises. So if there's a pothole, we'll fill it up. But we're not looking long-term to make sure the entire road surface is maintained.
Well, we all know somebody's supposed to fix the potholes, some government agency, but where does the money come from to repair all these potholes?
Well,
it's kind of a mixed bag, is it not?
It is. It's federal sources provide about 40% for the states to disperse throughout the local governments as well as the state roads.
And there's a problem there with the Federal Highway Fund, right? So explain that a little bit.
Well, right now, the Federal Highway Fund, the Highway Trust Fund, the gas tax that we pay has not been increased since Bill Clinton was in office. And at that time, things have changed. We've had inflation year after year, and the fund is basically depleted because no one has the courage to raise taxes.
They're talking about it running out of money next month. Is that for real? We've heard that about many things before.
What took place last year, around May, the fund became empty, and they had to transfer in $50 billion to keep the program running.
Well, then I saw a Newsday article which says that even the state, with the money that they get that's set aside, a lot of it is going to what they call operating expenses than the actual repairs. Explain that a little bit.
Well, the state has its own trust fund.
Right.
And the problem what we have there is that money, only about 35% goes to actual construction. The rest goes to pay for salaries, for snow and ice removal operations that should come out of the general fund. But it's easier to bury the taxes than to raise in the gas tax than to come and vote for a budget increase.
And we have tax caps.
Yes, we do.
So the highway departments are under stress now to meet the expectations that they're not going to raise the local homeowners' property taxes.
That's true. And no elected official wants to go and tell people they're going to have to pay more taxes.
Well, that's why I talked about it being a perfect storm, because a lot of the money that would normally have gone to fix roads instead was being dealt with to handle all this snow that we got. We're getting record snow over the last 2 years.
Most of the municipal budgets were, they exceeded with the snow and ice removal for sand and operations this year. Now you come to the point where they have to repair the damage that was done. So they're really under a tough situation.
Well, I would think this would be boom time for the folks you represent, all the contractors out there, since there are so many potholes. How is this a problem for the people you represent, though?
It's a good thing to get people out working, but it's a spotty business. So instead of just doing the road correctly, we're filling potholes all over the place. It's like rapid fire, where you're just taking care of one situation, and it's not economically sound to do it that way. It would be more feasible to pave an entire road surface, because you still have to send the same amount of crews, the same type of equipment and materials. Rather than running all over the place, you address it.
So you mean totally repave the roads?
Yes.
So that, well, how long does it last when you do something like that?
Generally, the state of New York used to have a 12-year paving cycle for the road. So the Long Island Expressway is an example. Every 12 years, they would pave that. But with the budget crisis year after year, they kind of, well, we'll push it off 13. We'll push it off 14. Now you've got 18 years. And you bring that down to the local level, where 80% of the roads are local. It goes even beyond that.
Well, and what we're beginning to learn from seeing all these potholes, we're all getting pothole educated, is there are many ways to patch or repair the roads, and some not as good as the others, right?
That's true. And when you get hit like we do this year, everyone tries to make it as safe as possible, so they go quickly, they don't compact it appropriately, and they move on to the next hole to at least get something there. They don't seal the holes like they should, or cut out and make the perfect fit.
Why wouldn't they do that? Because I was reading about that, and that they're saying that in some cases they don't roll the truck back over the asphalt to make sure that it's compacted. Is it they're under a rush or something? Why would they be doing that?
At this time of year, it is a rush. Get it done as fast as possible, because there's so many. How do you address everything at one time? And it's not the proper way to do it, but you have to make the roads safe. That's the initial response when the government officials go in.
Well, some of these repairs, you know, are just not going to last. Just today, driving in on the northern state, I saw a couple of mile stretch leading up to 106, 107, which is one of the worst places for potholes, where it looked like some sort of, it was grooved surface, it may have been asphalt, wasn't finished, and there were already huge holes in that.
Yeah. Well, probably what took place is they milled the surface of the road, and what that did is show the underlying issues that you have where the potholes are created, because the subsection wasn't repaired or has deteriorated to such a position that that's what happens.
So what's the solution, and is it one we can afford?
Well, the solution is to have a long-term vision and have the plan and have the opportunity to know when the roads are and do it systematically. And it can be done, but what the problem is, you've got to look for long-term funding. And then the state has to adopt a 5-year capital program, as they did in the past. They no longer do that.
Got to have the money for it. And of course, then we have the contributing problem of increasing traffic and trucks, which are up again still on the Long Island roadways. I saw one estimate that says that one truck does as much damage as 20,000 cars to the roadway. So it's a complex situation. We want to thank you for coming in and talking with us today. Marc Herbst, the Executive Director of the Long Island Contractors Association, whose members are out there patching our roads even as we speak.
Yes, they are.
Thank you. And when we return, one Long Island community worried its truck traffic will explode if an oil storage business is allowed to expand. Stay with us.